I think it's a good moment to sort of summarize the things that we came across while we have done all these experiments. Actually, all the tools that you've seen are there. They can be adopted. They can be inserted into any infrastructure. We have most of it implemented with our customers. And obviously, some of it is really, very new and something that we are still evolving on. Mm-hmm. But what we've seen, and you just referred to this before, Lisa, all the knowledge that you have within your company is not always well structured. And that starts with address quality. We've seen customers that have a really awful list of addresses, and we struggle with that data to make sure that we know where the customer is and where the technician has to go. And that's an important fact in planning. So address quality is a major topic. Opening hours or service hours in general is also something that is usually known within the company. It's the technicians know it, the planners know partly, but it's not really put into data. And this is where we need to be aware of the fact that data is so important to your environment and to your operations. If we want to implement tools that work with data, we need to remind that if you put garbage in, you'll get garbage out. And that can obviously, as we've seen before, the skill matrix could be something that you could derive from all certain certificates or documents. But any data in general is helpful to train your system and bring you further into a stable environment, not overseeing some details that you might have missed. What we see also, though, is that there are some pitfalls with chatbots. We've seen not many, but some occasions where the chatbot starts hallucinating or starts answering things that weren't in the document, or maybe worse, the other way around. There was something in the document and it wasn't able to find it. It could have been, the reason for that could have been that our setup wasn't correct, that the training wasn't, to a degree that made this chatbot aware of it. But in general, we should be aware of the fact that chatbots can hallucinate. It's not something to neglect. You really need to take care. And for that, we can put into the prompts some guardrails that help us to sort of minimize the errors. But keep in mind that a chatbot is basically also producing faults and errors every now and then, as any other customer service agent would probably as well. But it's something, because it's an automated process, you really have to take care of that. Also, for some regulated markets, you have to take care of GDPR regulations. Large language models that work in the US may not be something that you might be allowed to work with. That's more for assurances and other regulated markets, but for manufacturers in general, that's not a big issue. But large language models are not just ChatGPT. There are others. There are also open source ones that you can use and implement yourself. Keep in mind, again, that it's really the historical data that we need. And it's something where a new term comes up now since a few months, maybe a year or so, and that's called retrieval-augmented generation. It's basically the concept of having a chatbot or an agent work with different sources that it hasn't been trained on before. The search document, the document search bot is a good example for it, because the answer is produced by, and even the interpretation of the question of a user is produced and learned from a large language model. But the large language model doesn't know anything about the documents that we provided somewhere else. So there is always a bit of separate knowledge that the large language model needs to have access to. Also, this appointment booking needs access to OMD or field service solution, or any other field service solution, and for that matter. But it means that not just the language model is enough. You will need external systems to integrate and make it a useful structure. And this is where we need to just be aware that whenever you start working with artificial intelligence in your organization, you need to be sure that you have people who know how to set up that infrastructure. And obviously Optimize My Day can help with that. But it's really an important topic to keep in mind that it's not just connecting to ChatGPT. There's a lot more that comes around. So when we talk about lessons learned, let's maybe summarize a few things. As we've seen in the beginning of the presentation, that there is a lot of topics that we can't escape from. There is a lot of chaos that is coming across, and we can't really get rid of that altogether, but you can improve and reduce the costs by applying artificial intelligence and optimization in general. Also, what we see is that when you have a good standardized planning process, that you can scale a lot better than if you are using different processes altogether. We've seen customers tenfolding the teams within just a very short period of time, just because they have properly standardized their processes, and then they grow without any pain because the processes work and they are standardized. So that's an important fact. The other thing is that what we've seen with this appointment booking is that when you decouple processes, you make it a lot more flexible, and your organization is more capable of responding to the chaos that you have within your organization, and it can really significantly increase the productivity. So keep an eye on those processes within your organization where you think there is a chance to decouple them. That's something that you should be putting effort into. What we've also seen is this multi-language topic with bots. I really think that is fantastic. I mean, you can imagine an agent being able to respond in different languages to consumers or your business partners 24 hours a day with very low costs. That's sort of a really big dream of customer support, and it's there. It's really there. We can really provide those tools and make it work. And still, of course, we need to make sure that there is a boundary around it, but it gives you a lot of flexibility. What we also know, and that's more a general recommendation, is that what we've seen with our customers is that their workflows very often are quite stiff. And there are so many exceptions that can happen during the field service operations that you need to be prepared for all the exceptions that you have within the operations. It sounds like a normal thing to do, but we've seen so many exceptions, and you have to make sure that you know exactly what to do when something happens that you haven't been anticipating. Last but not least, although we're talking about bots that replace a lot of the daily tasks and daily duties of customer agents and planners as such, we still think that there is a lot to say about dispatchers and planners still being the master of the plan. They very often know a lot more than the machinery. If the data is not complete, we see very often that things go wrong. So make sure that you still have planners and dispatchers that follow up with a plan, do their job, and still continue working with it. Their work is not at risk. They're very important to actually finalize and polish the planning to a high level. So they're not really taken away at all. They shouldn't be scared of this new approach in planning. Anyway, as I said before, all the tools that you've seen so far, they're all available. They can be integrated into any environment, whatever field service solution you have. Obviously, they're also working with our own field service solution, Optimize My Day Go, OMD Go, which you're welcome to visit if you have time and interest in having a look at what we can provide in terms of mobile field service support.
Thank you, Frank, and thank you, Michael and Laureen as well. I know we're coming to an end now. We're actually at the hour, so we need to wrap this up. I would like to thank you very much for the insights. I am always eager to see when these kind of buzzwords come into practicality and how it's actually leveraged. It is always something where I see that the grand scale of technology becomes business efficiency. It's actually where it becomes interesting, and I'm pretty sure the audience agrees with me here. So thank you for showcasing this. And there are I understand that technology itself, it takes a lot to develop, but it's logical, methods that brings the efficiency to the table. So I think it's not hard for the audience to buy in to, if I can just do this a little bit more efficiently, I gain this much in terms of time and costs. And, field service being a labor-intense unit, labor is one of the most expensive resources we have. The more we can do with our resources, the better it is for the resources and for ourselves. So I think this is a brilliant way of showcasing how we can actually leverage it. So I would like to thank you greatly for that. So thank you for walking us through this morning. I would also like to encourage the audience that if you have any questions to Frank, Michael, or Lauren, please reach out. They are on LinkedIn under these aliases. You can also find them here in the Swapcard platform. So you can direct message them that way, or if you don't know how to do that, you reach out to the Copperberg team and we will gladly introduce you, no problem at all. Also bear in mind that the recording is available again. So, if you want to revisit this or have another look, you can do that at any point. Just log into the same portal as always, and it's under our on-demand library.